The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so a couple of hours ago, I start getting emails from people with the headline and the link to a story from Esquire.com, right? Pretty reliable, Esquire.com. Jerome Corsi's Birtha book pulled from shelves in a stunning development one day after the release of Where's the Birth Certificate. The WorldNet Daily Editor-in-Chief Executive Officer Joseph Farah has announced plans to recall and pulp the entire 200,000 first printing run of the book, as well as announcing an offer to refund the purchase price to anyone who has already bought either a hard copy or electronic download of the book. I cannot in good conscience publish it and expect anyone to believe it. And there was more to the story. And it wasn't until a couple of hours later that the author of this false, phony story, Mark Warren, posted an update saying that it was all satire. Joining us now is the aforementioned Joseph Farah, editor and chief executive officer of WND.com and WND Books. Hello, sir.
Hi, Steve. Quite a day, huh?
I mean, I knew that. So the second I got it, I wrote it to you, and I said, what is this? And then you linked me to a story at WND which told about how it was a phony. But, my God, and they're defending the fact that they wrote this garbage at Esquire.
And don't feel bad, Steve, about being fooled, because I got calls from all the top editors at all of the big news agencies across this country today, all asking the same question, for a comment on this development. And I'm going like, what? Are you guys serious? You think I'm going to pull a best-selling book off the shelves? What's the matter with you? But of course, they wrote it in a way that didn't really betray any sense of, you had to look really closely, because they named one of Jerry's books after like a phony moon landing or something like that. That was the only hint at satire in the whole thing. And as quickly as I had a chance to respond on WND and in other venues that we were exploring our legal options, well, there goes the disclaimer about it all being a satire. But this is the second huge thing that happened today on this book, Steve. As that is happening, and I'm thinking, wow, what could happen next? The White House sends out this email, a fundraising email, and guess how they're raising money? Guess which book they're using to raise money for Obama's reelection
Where's
campaign?
The birth certificate? They got the T-shirt, right?
They're selling T-shirts and mugs, Born in the USA, and all of this nonsense. Now, I was thinking, when I saw that, I thought, wait a minute. I thought he didn't have time for this nonsense. Now, all of a sudden, his campaigns get all the time in the world to try to profiteer over this. And, what this is really about, in my eyes, is they are trying desperately to bury Jerry Corsi's book because they recognize it as still a serious threat to them. And this is their effort to, deep six the media, really, from covering this book. But I think they've stirred up quite a hornet's nest here and actually stirred more interest in the book than they know.
Well, do you believe that Mark Warren, who wrote the piece on Esquire and who, by the way, referred to in an interview with the Daily Caller, referred to Jerome Corsi as a piece of S.
Yeah.
Nice guy. Do you believe?
Very professional.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to keep his job and get a promotion. Now, do you believe that the White House had anything to do with this?
Well, I wouldn't be a bit surprised. You see, he actually, paid homage to Obama in there as well, saying that he had a sense of humor about this and why didn't we and blah, blah. Listen, Mark Warren is not some blogger at Esquire. He's the executive editor of Esquire. Now, this is, look, Esquire is owned by the Hearst Corporation, one of the wealthiest privately held companies in the whole world. I worked for Hearst for 10 years. I know a lot about the inner workings of that company. You get to be executive editor of Esquire, and you're talking about a guy who's making, 7 figures a year. You're not talking about some, $50,000 editor here. And so this is a very – you don't think this guy talks to the White House? Absolutely he does. And he made his political expressions, I think, very clear in there. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a concerted effort today, bang, bang, between the White House sending out this email fundraiser and Esquire taking a shot. But they really miscalculated, Steve, because on this Esquire thing, the Wall Street Journal has already weighed in on this. They did a story, they posted a story already about our chances for winning a libel suit.
Well, that's my next question. We only have about a minute and a half, and I know you got an event, a family event. Tell me about what you're considering.
Well, since this started, I mean, one of my first phone calls was to one of the greatest First Amendment attorneys in America to see what he thought, and he says it's a winnable case. It's going to be very expensive, but thanks for telling me. And so we are looking at doing something relatively quickly here. I wouldn't be surprised if we're able to file a motion, at least, to get this off the ground in the next week or two.
And who's the attorney?
Well, that's what I got to decide, whether I'm going to break the bank. I'm one of the most famous lawyers in the whole country, or whether we're going to take a more conservative approach.
All right. So just tell me, what was your first reaction? How were you made aware of it, of the piece that appeared at Esquire?
Oh, hundreds of people were emailing me, Steve, and they're taking it seriously.
Yeah, well,
that's the thing.
And like you,
they're asking me for refunds.
Yes, and like you, I was getting emails from not just listeners, but from people who I know and trust, and they're saying, how could this happen?
I know. So that's how badly executed that satire was, that everybody believed it. And so it just goes to show you the scum we're dealing with over there. But what I started doing, you'll enjoy this. All the folks who asked me for refunds, I decided I would send them over to Warren at Esquire, since he started the whole thing, and I said, this is the guy you ask for the refund.
That's a good one. All right, listen, Joseph, thank you so much for your time, and enjoy your function, sir.
Thank you, Steve.
All right,
God bless.
Take care. You too. Joseph Farah, ladies and gentlemen, editor and chief executive officer of WND.com and WND Books. Wow, and he has no doubt. He says, absolutely, Mark Warren, the writer of that phony piece, talks to the White House. So there you go. That's how much of a joke they think the book is. That's how not bothered they are by the whole thing. When we come,
the only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.